Sergeant Blisk. Scanning airfield 24 for hostiles. None detected.
Hey guys, TSS here, and today we're comparing the Ogre, Atlas and Stryder classes within Titanfall and ultimately deciding which one is best for you to use. So let's get straight to the point because I don't want this video to drag on for too long. And the Titan that I'm using right now is called the Atlas Titan, and as I'm sure you're aware, this is the Titan that was available in the beta and is also the first Titan that you unlock and you're able to personalise and make classes for, and you don't have to complete the campaign to unlock it. So because of this, I have the most experience with the Atlas Titan, but that's not to say I don't have very much experience with the other ones. So let's get the statistics out of the way with the Titan first, because obviously they're quite boring, but you need to know them to understand how they work. The Atlas Titan has 2 dashes, and these dashes take 4.2 seconds to recharge each. This is enough to mean that you can escape from sticky situations, but at the same time, you wouldn't be able to have a constant stream with them like you would with the Stryder, for example. But if you use them correctly and carefully, by the time you've used one, and you need to use your other one, your first one would have recharged again, which means that you kind of can, if you time it right, have a constant stream of dashes. And the Atlas has 8,000 health, which lies smack bam in the middle between the Stryder and the Ogre. So you have a decent amount of health, and you will be able to survive for quite a long time in gunfights. So because of these 2 statistics that I've just gone through, the Atlas Titan is easily the most well-rounded Titan of the 3. You can survive long enough in close quarters to be able to go into close quarters, but at the same time you can still escape due to the number of dashes, if need be. This means that you can essentially just run around like a man when you're using this Titan. And the best thing about this Titan is its core ability. The Atlas Titan's core ability is called the damage core, and this means that you do a huge amount of damage as opposed to what you'd be doing normally if you didn't have it on. Now, as of the time that I'm making this video, there aren't any stats on Stimflick or any of the other websites that I can find that show you just how much it multiplies your damage by when you have it on. But I would say it's around about double damage, because it seems like I'm dealing huge amounts of damage whenever I have it on. So I find that the Atlas Titan has got easily the best core ability out of the 3 Titans. As when you have it on, if you're playing smart, then you can take out 2 Titans on your own without too much difficulty. So how should you use this Titan then, and what setup should you use for it? Well, for your Titan weapon, I would say you should go for the triple threat, and this is because the weapon does huge amounts of damage, which, if you do have the damage core on, you can double it and make it even more powerful. And also, this weapon is very close quarters, and this definitely suits this Titan, as you can get into the close quarters and survive for a decent amount of time because of the high amount of health that it has. And also at the same time you can escape if you have to because of the dashes. And I would also recommend that you leave the core extender ability on, as this means that you can use your core ability for as long as you possibly can, and obviously with a Titan core ability this good, you want it to last for as long as possible to increase your chances of surviving in gunfights. One thing you should definitely be using when you're using the Atlas Titan is the Vortex Shield, as when you're playing tennis with someone you can easily deal so much damage when you're using the core ability. It's just gonna kill people instantly pretty much. And apart from these personalisation options, you can choose. They're all down to personal opinion, it doesn't really matter. But just remember, the Atlas doesn't have very good melee damage, and you're not going to be able to take out an Ogre in hand-to-hand combat. So let's move on to the Stryder class now. The Stryder class is essentially the pussy class out of all of the Titans. The way that you've got to play with this class is that you've got to start shooting people from far away, and then as soon as they look at you and your shields come down, you've just got to run away and then hope that they forget about you and then come back and start shooting them again. You are just literally a pest. So what are the stats then of the Stryder class? Now the Stryder class has 5,500 health, which is by far the lowest of the Titans. In fact, it's nearly half of the health that the Ogre has, which means that you're going to get decimated if you hang around in combat. But that's okay, because the Stryder has one huge advantage. It has 3 dashes, and the dashes only take 3.3 seconds to recharge. And that basically means that you have 4 charges, as by the time you've used 3 of them, your 4th one is often recharged, meaning that you can just pull off 4 in quick succession. So this means that the health that you have isn't really that much of an issue, as soon as your shields come down you can just run off behind a wall. So in my opinion, the best way to use this Titan is by playing extremely defensively. And you'll see in the gameplay that I'm just kind of hanging back and letting that guy that's next to me do all of the close quarters action, taking all of the attention away from me, which means that way I can survive for much longer. And whenever the enemies do shoot at me, I have the dashes, which means that I can generally dodge the majority of their bullets, and that way I will just be able to escape everything, and hopefully I'll be able to last for a very long time. But unfortunately, this Titan does have very low health, which means that obviously if a Titan can keep good accuracy on you, and they must have very good aim and must be very skilled, or otherwise you've just used all of your dashes and can't escape like I have now, then you will get destroyed extremely quickly, and there isn't much that you can do about it, unfortunately. Now the Stryder's core ability, quite unsurprisingly, is called the dash core, and this allows you to be extremely speedy, and the gameplay you're seeing now, I have not sped up. I'll be using it in about a second now, and you'll see that my health is pretty much on nil. I have no health left whatsoever. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, right, I'm dead. I have no chance of killing this guy whatsoever. So what I do is I pop on my core ability, the dash core, and then all of a sudden, he can't get a shot on me. You'll see him kind of sitting there flailing about, wondering what to do, because he obviously has no way of predicting what way I'm going to turn next, and I'm just turning around, so he just tries to put his vortex shield on to hope that he can stop me. But I just end up going up behind him, and then obviously it only blocks damage coming from the front, so he can't do anything about it. And then all of a sudden, by that point, I've done so much damage to him, he's nearly dead, and even with the damage core now off, I've still got so many dashes available to me, which is 3, I can still evade most of his bullets, and he has just got no chance. And he had full health to begin with, and I had nothing. Yet I still managed to doom him, which is just absolutely ridiculous, and it just proves that this Titan ability is very good, and it is very useful to use. But nonetheless, I still think that the Atlas Titan's damage core is much more useful than the Stryder class's dash core. And this is mainly because the dash core is only really useful for one-on-one Titan combat, whereas the Atlas's damage core is much more useful for killing multiple Titans on your own. So I don't think it's quite as helpful as the damage core, but it is still extremely good, and if you want to, I wouldn't say that you shouldn't bother using the core extender ability. So what setup should you be using with the Stryder class then? Personally, I think that you should be going for the chain gun. Mainly because the chain gun is quite easy to keep on target with. You know, you have a lot of bullets that are constantly coming out, so if you miss one, it doesn't really matter because you've got 5 more that are coming. And you do have to be expecting to miss a lot of bullets when you're using the Stryder. Mainly because you're moving so quickly that it's quite hard and you have to kind of wrestle with where you're aiming a lot of the time. And if you're using something like the 40mm chain gun like I'm using now, if you miss one of your bullets, you'll find that you're far behind in what you could have been doing, and you've missed out on a lot of damage, and you've potentially lost the gunfight because of that single bullet that you missed. So that's why I think the chain gun is the best Titan weapon to use with the Stryder class. And for your tactical ability, again I think you should go with a vortex shield. This is because you want to make this Titan very, very defensive, and so that you can block a lot of damage, but you don't want to go for the particle wall because that relies on the fact that you're going to be sitting there camping a lot of the time, and obviously the Stryder class is designed for movement, and you're meant to be running around really quickly, so that's why you're going to go for the vortex shield over the particle wall. And the reason that you're not going to go for the electric smoke is because you're moving so quickly, it's often quite hard to be rodeoed by pilots, as by the time that pilots have jumped to where you were a second ago, you've moved from there, which means that they can't really jump onto where you are unless you're standing still, and in that case you're not really using the Titan in the correct way. But overall I love this Titan. I think it's well rounded, and there are a lot of varieties of gameplay that you can use. You can be really quick when you've got the dash core on, and at the same time you can play very defensively to survive for as long as possible. So the third and final Titan is called the Ogre, and it's bloody well named, and I can tell you that this Titan does look like an ogre. It has got so much armour on it, you can tell straight by looking at it that it's designed to have a lot of health. And you know what? It does have a lot of health. It has 10,500 health, which, as I said earlier, is nearly double the amount that the Stryder has. But unfortunately, this does come with a few drawbacks. The Ogre Titan only has one dash, and it takes 4.5 seconds to reload. Now this means that you often get caught up in firefights and you can't escape. It's annoying because you physically cannot play defensively with this Titan, because you'll be standing miles away from the action, then all of a sudden a Stryder will run up to you, and then you can't escape, and you just die because you cannot get away from it. And because the Ogre is so slow moving and it's just so, you know, just generally boring to use, it means that you're basically just a potato, and it's very easy for the Stryder to get a lot of bullets onto you, and because the Stryder is so fast moving, it's very hard for you to get bullets onto that. So even though you do have double health, you end up getting half of the damage onto other Titans, and then you get ganged up on by like 3 of them which you can't escape from, and then you just die. So I haven't had very good experiences with this Titan. I have been using several and as many different weapon setups as I can possibly use with it, and I found that the best thing to do was to use the 40mm cannon, because obviously you are being able to get a lot of bullets on target because you are slow moving and you're kind of standing in the same position, which means that you can just generally be quite accurate with your shots. But even so, I didn't even find that to be very successful. But I did find one thing that worked extremely well with this Titan, and that happens to be the particle wall. Because I have been trying to play very defensively with this, because after trying to go into close quarters and realising that you just can't escape and you end up dying extremely easily, I decided that I'd try and take a step back and just go for my health, and mean that hopefully other Titans won't be able to shoot at me. And I did this by going into an alleyway and putting down a particle wall which I can shoot through but other Titans can't. And this means that if other Titans on the other team aren't very clever and don't decide they want to chase after you and go and kill you, you can survive for a very long time. But obviously, if they do decide to chase after you and they do just run through the particle wall, then you'll die very quickly, as you cannot escape because of the single dash that you have. So, I don't know, have I been using it wrong? If you've got any good setups to work with this Titan, then leave them in the comment section down below, because obviously I have not been having very much luck with this Titan. I found that, as you can see here, the only way that I can ever get kills is by coming up behind enemy Titans and hoping that they don't turn around because they're fixated on another Titan that's on my team. Which is a real shame, because I just don't find this Titan to be very useful whatsoever, and I just much prefer to be using myself and just being a pilot and just running around. Now, the Ogre's core ability is called the Shield Core, and now this is extremely rubbish. It is the worst core ability out of the three by a long way. What it does is it regens your shields and it gives them a lot more health or whatever it is. I'm not sure how much it does it by, because they haven't been updated on SimTick yet, unfortunately, but it doesn't seem to do it by much, and they soon go down, so it's pretty much useless. But as you can see now, that right there is the main issue with this Titan. You cannot escape from anything. As soon as another Titan that you kill runs after you, you are dead, because the pilot will get out, he'll set nuclear ejection up, and you've already used your dash to try and get away from him, and then you're caught up in a corner and you can't escape, and you just know you're dead, because even though the Ogre does have a whole lot of health, it really isn't enough to mean that you're going to survive a nuclear ejection, because that does tons and tons of damage, and it really is a shame, because you just cannot do anything about it. So I tend to find myself dying extremely quickly by using this Titan, and I don't think I'll be using it very much ever again. So now let's answer the main question. What is the best Titan to use? Now, as I covered, 2 of the 3 Titans are very, very viable options for you to use, and so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which one of the 2 you choose. But if I had to decide, I would go for Stryder, and this is because Titanfall is a very, very fast-moving game. It is all about your agility, your speed, and how well you can traverse the maps. If you can get behind your opponents, then chances are you will kill them and you will destroy them. So I find that having that speed ability and the speed bonus you get from the Stryder gives you a huge advantage above the competition. If you play the Stryder the way it's meant to be played, then you'll survive for much longer than you will survive in the Ogre Titan or even the Atlas Titan. But the main reason that I prefer the Stryder is simply because it's fun. It is just a blast to use and I really enjoy it. So my results may have been a little bit biased from the whole fun aspect that you get with the game, but at the end of the day, a video game is meant to be a fun experience, and that's what I get when I use the Stryder. But whatever happens, it's all down to personal opinion. If you do better when you're using the Ogre Stryder, use that. But my opinion is, I think it's very useless, and I don't think it's very fun to use. But anyway, I've been TSS, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.